Hi everybody, this is Boogass Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the McFarlane Toys Rob Zombie figure. So before we take a look at Rob Zombie, let's take a look at the accessories that he comes with. So first up, he comes with this very impressive base. McFarlane Toys did a really good job at sculpting this. The zombie there's chiseled in the stone, looks very nice. All the little cracks and everything is sculpted very nicely. The pillars have some excellent texturing with some black paint and all of the little textures there to bring out the details. And you also get some brown paint over top of it. The gears here are sculpted very nicely. I think they're actually painted in silver and then have some brown over top of them to make them look like rusted gears. But that looks very nice. Here at the bottom you get two piles of skulls. And these are painted and sculpted very nicely. All of the little cracks and details on them. They're cast in the same color as the rest of this base, but they actually have some black and brown paint over top of them, as well as some slime right there. That looks really awesome. This is actually a pretty hefty base. I was surprised at that. The only complaint that I have with this base is that it doesn't have a peg to peg Rob Zombie into. I think it would have been nice if they would have given at least one peg to stabilize him on this. He stands pretty well on it on his own, but I think it definitely would have benefited from a peg there. But other than that, this is sculpted very nicely. Up next, you get two biomechanical looking arm attachments to put on him, and these look very nice. This has some impressive paintwork to it. It's cast in just this flat black color, but it has some silver, brown, and rust painted over top of it. That looks really good. Like I said, it looks biomechanical to me. It kind of reminds me of the Xenomorphs. I love the way these look. And I like how they have that rust paint over top of the silver. That looks really awesome. And surprisingly, he holds these very well. I was surprised at how well he holds these. So yeah, these are sculpted and painted very nicely. So now let's go ahead and take a look at his head sculpt. So taking a look at this head sculpt, McFarlane Toys did a really awesome job at sculpting this. I think it looks a lot like Rob Zombie. I think the likeness is there. I do feel like it's just a little bit cartoony, but I still think you can tell who it is. I think it looks like him. This head sculpt has some impressive paint detail. He has a nice dark gray wash over his skin, bringing those details out very nicely. He has some nice red paint there in the X on his forehead, and he has some dark circles around his eyes. The one place that I noticed that the paint gets a little bit sloppy is on the teeth. The teeth are done in this yellowish color, and there's just a little bit there on his bottom lip. But other than that, this head sculpt is sculpted very nicely. Even his facial hair is sculpted really well. His hair also has some nice paint variation to it. The gray over top of that looks really good. McFarlane Toys did a really awesome job on this, and the hair is very soft so it doesn't hinder his articulation. Since this is when McFarlane Toys was doing more of the articulated statues, the articulation is kind of limited, but I do appreciate that they gave him this soft hair so it doesn't limit what limited articulation he does have. His armor is very impressively sculpted. All the little dents and scratches and everything are sculpted very nicely, and it has some very nice silver paint over top of it. That looks really good. You even get some subtle rust tones there on the shoulder pads. That looks really cool. He just has a lot of paint detail to his suit. McFarlane Toys did a really good job on this. One thing that I think is very awesome is you get a skull sculpted on each knee pad, as well as a face right here on the shins. That looks really cool. I like how they kind of hid the little faces there in the armor. That looks really cool. So now let's go ahead and go over his articulation. So first up, he has a swivel head that can move side to side very slightly. He has ball jointed shoulders that can move up and down very slightly. These joints always scare me on the older McFarlane Toys. They're always fragile as is, but when they have joints like that, it scares me. But they can move up and down very slightly. He has swivel elbows that can move side to side. He does have swivel gloves that can move side to side. A swivel at the waist, and hip articulation that honestly wasn't needed, because the only thing he can do is that and this. So yeah, honestly, he didn't really need that articulation there, but McFarlane Toys gave it to him anyways. So overall, I would highly recommend picking this up if you can find it, because it is very awesome. It's really a shame that McFarlane doesn't do any more music figures, because all of the music figures that they put out were amazing. This is sculpted and painted so well. At some point, I'd really like NECA to do their take on a Rob Zombie figure. I could see him being a really cool retro-clothed music figure. That would be very awesome. But for now, we'll have to settle for the McFarlane one, which is fine by me because this is still an amazing figure. I think 23 years later. I think this was released in 2000. So yeah, definitely pick this up if you can because it is an awesome figure. So that's my review. If you like this review, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.